They said the white tiger feared nothing. But Amara saw the truth the moment she stood before him. His breath thin and brittle, his fingers trembling, while his own family lingered in the corners like shadows waiting for him to stop breathing. And the moment she stepped into his world, she walked straight into a storm she didn't even know existed. 2 months earlier, no one was hunting her. She was standing outside Seoul Station, hugging her coat to her chest as winter wind slapped her cheeks raw. Commuters rushed past, confident, busy, alive, while she stood still, unsure how she was supposed to keep going when everything in her life felt stuck. Her phone buzzed. A message from her brother in Harare. Dad collapsed this morning. Doctor says he needs stronger medication. We can't afford it. Can you send anything? The words punched the air out of her lungs. She typed back slowly. I'm trying. Hold on a little longer. Trying. The word followed her everywhere, across continents, across years, across every shift where she scrubbed floors until her knuckles burned. And still, somehow, trying was never enough. When Amara moved to Seoul, everyone back home painted a fantasy for her. She'd become an English tutor, maybe model part-time, maybe post cute cafe selfies like the girls on Instagram. Instead, she met immigration officers with cold eyes, bosses who conveniently forgot half her wages, and landlords who refused foreigners without even pretending to be polite. Her visa slipped into a gray zone. She pretended not to notice. So did everyone employing her. But when her father had a stroke and the hospital demanded money up front, she crossed a line she swore she never would. She borrowed from underground lenders. Men in immaculate suits. Wolf smiles. Contracts written in polite language hiding ugly intent. The kind of people who didn't threaten you loudly, they simply appeared at your door and let silence do the work. Her father survived. The debt didn't just survive, it evolved. By the third time the collectors hammered on her door, she knew she had days left. Maybe. So when her group chat pinged with a message, caregiver needed. Live-in. 3.5 million won/month. No experience required. Foreigners okay. Hanam-dong. She stopped walking. 3.5 million. She blinked. Read it again. Then again. Jobs that paid that much didn't come without danger. But drowning people didn't negotiate with the waves. She messaged instantly. Hello. My name is Amara. I'm interested in the caregiver position. I can cook, clean, and learn quickly. Seconds later. Interview tomorrow. 11 a.m. address attached. She clicked the map pin. Hanam-dong. Embassies. Diplomats. Houses with private gates taller than small buildings. The area she used to clean at night while imagining what kind of lives existed behind those walls. She hesitated, until she remembered her father's tired voice. The hesitation vanished. The next morning, she put on her neatest clothes, black jeans, navy sweater, second-hand coat. She braided her hair back, added lip color with trembling hands, and whispered a small prayer that confidence could be faked long enough. The taxi ride drained what little she had left. The driver kept looking at her in the rearview mirror, as if wondering how someone dressed like her ended up headed toward a neighborhood built for power. He didn't ask. He didn't need to. When she stepped out of the cab, her throat tightened. The estate was massive, not loud or modern, but controlled. Old money. High walls. Stone paths. Trimmed gardens. Security cameras that tracked her like she was already a threat. She approached the guardhouse. I'm here for an interview. The guard examined her briefly, stepped inside, and returned moments later as the gates opened with a slow metallic groan. Amara stepped through. The woman waiting at the entrance didn't smile. She didn't need to. Her presence alone commanded silence. Perfect hair. Diamond pin. A tailored suit that said she had never rushed a day in her life. You are the applicant, she said. Follow me. So this was the wife. Inside, the estate felt too pristine, too orderly, like a place where even emotions required permission. My husband is very ill, she said, her heels clicking softly as they walked. You will help him eat, dress, move, and take medication on schedule. You will keep his environment clean. Comfort is essential. No warmth. No sympathy. Just instructions. If anything happens under your watch, choking, falls, distress, you will answer for it. This household does not tolerate carelessness. Amara swallowed hard. Yes, I understand. The wife stopped at a door and stepped aside. Go in. Sunlight poured across the room, landing on a man whose presence felt heavier than the air itself. Blankets covered his legs. His body seemed frail. But his eyes were sharp enough to cut steel. Baek Seon-ho, the white tiger of Seoul. The whisper that made lone collectors stand straighter. The ghost people said controlled half the underground without ever lifting a hand. Now the man himself looked tired, worn, but still lethal. His gaze raked over her slowly. Who are you? He asked. My name is Amara, she said quietly. I'm here to help take care of you. Ah, he murmured. The new one. His voice was low, gravel-lined, still carrying the authority of someone used to being obeyed. My wife hired you. Yes. A faint smile touched his lips. Then she must have decided I won't be dying quickly enough. Amara froze. Sir. I'm teasing, he said. Mostly. He nodded at the tray in her hands. Put that there. She placed it beside him, scooped a spoonful of porridge, and lifted it toward him. He accepted it without complaint, though a small grimace suggested she had work to do. You're nervous, he observed. A little, she admitted. Good. Fear makes people sharp. The rest of the morning blurred into a dance of instructions. Medication times, meal temperatures, posture adjustments, everything labeled neatly on charts she read again and again until her head throbbed. She burned the porridge the next day. He lifted his head the moment she walked in. You burned it. She winced. I made another one. Lower heat, he said simply. Try again tomorrow. On the third day, he nearly slipped while she helped him stand. Panic surged through her, but he steadied himself with a dry chuckle. If I fall and drag you down with me, the newspapers will have a field day. Despite herself, she laughed. Breathless, anxious, but real. Every night she lay in her small room replaying each mistake. Every near disaster. Every sigh. She fully expected to be dismissed before the week ended. But on the fourth morning, she felt his gaze on her as she arranged his blanket. You're learning, he said. She blinked. I'm trying. Most people here pretend. You try. His voice softened, just a fraction. That's worth something. Her chest warmed in a way she didn't expect. He exhaled slowly. Let's see how long you last. She couldn't tell if it was a warning or encouragement. Before leaving his room that evening, she took a shaky breath at the door. If you're following Amara's journey, stay close. Things are about to shift. Because while she walked down the hallway believing she'd survived another day, 3 members of the Beck family were sitting behind a closed door upstairs, already deciding what they would do about the foreign girl who'd somehow gotten too close to the dying white tiger. Amara wasn't sure what woke her first, the echo of footsteps or the cold, sharp feeling that someone was watching her. The Beck estate had a strange silence in the morning. Not peaceful. Not calm. A silence that felt intentional. Like the walls themselves were listening. She washed her face, tied her braids back, and made her way toward the kitchen. A few house staff moved around like ghosts, heads down, steps soft, expressions neutral. No greetings. No warmth. It was as if friendliness had been banned. But the real reason for the tension revealed itself the moment she stepped into the hallway. 3 women stood there. Not women, daughters. Daughters of the white tiger. You didn't need a family tree to recognize them. Wealth draped itself over their bodies like a birthright. Their jewelry glittered. Their expressions didn't. The one in the middle was clearly the eldest. Her posture was straight, rigid, and her gaze landed on Amara with the same level of interest someone might give a malfunctioning lamp. "You must be the new helper," she said. Her voice wasn't rude. It was worse. It was polite in a way that told Amara she did not matter. "Yes," Amara said gently. "My name is—" "I don't need your name," the eldest cut in. "If I require something, I'll gesture. That should be enough." The second daughter rolled her eyes dramatically. "Mother keeps hiring anyone she finds on the street. This one looks like she'd faint if a door closes too loudly." The youngest, barely an adult, giggled behind her hand. Amara stood still. She'd dealt with disrespect before. She knew how to let it slide off her skin like rain. But these girls were different. Their cruelty wasn't emotional. It was practiced. Cultivated. A family tradition. "Move," the eldest said, flicking her fingers. Amara stepped aside. Their perfume drifted past her. Sweet, expensive, unsettling. She held her breath until she reached Seon-ho's room. He was sitting upright, eyes closed, breathing shallowly. She watched him for a moment. This fragile man was the white tiger? This was the man whose name froze grown men in place? Illness had taken so much from him. But not his awareness. "You're late," he rasped, eyes snapping open the moment she entered. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. "Your daughters." "Ah." His lips twitched. "The little princesses. They don't seem to like me," she admitted. "They don't like anyone who's not themselves," he said dryly. "Keep your distance. They smile with their teeth." She fed him carefully, helping him wash, adjusting the heater. His skin looked thinner today. His breath shallower. "You're still scared," he said after a moment. She blinked. Was it that obvious? Yes. But fear is not weakness. Fear is awareness. The words landed somewhere deep inside her. Awareness was something she had always carried, through immigration lines, late-night shifts, back-alley lenders. Awareness had kept her alive. It would have to keep her alive here too. Later, in the kitchen, the eldest daughter reappeared, this time with a man beside her. Tall. Immaculate suit. Handsome in the cold, polished way expensive sculptures are. His gaze slid to Amara. "Who's that?" he asked, not bothering to lower his voice. "The new girl," the daughter said. "Mother hired her." He didn't nod. Didn't smile. He just stared. Not curiosity. Not attraction. Calculation. "I suppose father likes her," he murmured. He always had strange taste in people. The daughter waved a hand. "She's temporary." They walked past her, but his stare stayed lodged in her stomach like a shard of glass. She didn't know his name yet, but she knew this. This man was dangerous in a way she couldn't name. When she returned to Seon-ho's room, she couldn't help asking, "Sir, who is the man with your daughter?" "Jang Woo-sik," Seon-ho said. "Her fiancé. Is he part of your business?" "No," Seon-ho said quietly. "But he wants to be." His voice shifted into something colder. "He's the kind of man who pats your shoulder while calculating how deep he should dig your grave." A chill crossed Amara's spine. "Why would he care about me?" she whispered. "Because you are near me," he said. "And anything near me becomes a threat or an opportunity." The logic was terrifying. And true. That night, sleep refused to come. The walls felt too close. The silence felt heavy. She checked her phone. Her sister. "Did you eat today? Don't forget yourself." The lenders. "Payment due tomorrow." No excuses. Her chest tightened. Whatever this house demanded of her, whatever insults she had to swallow, whatever dangerous stares Woo-sik gave her, she could not lose this job. The next morning proved just how hard that would be. She stepped into the garden for air and froze when she heard voices around the corner. "You think she'll last long?" the youngest daughter said. "She'll do until mother finds another," the middle one replied. Foreigners don't complain. The eldest sighed. I don't care what she does as long as father doesn't grow attached. He's unstable. Woo-sik's voice joined theirs, smooth, quiet, deadly. He's vulnerable. If he forms attachments now, it complicates everything. Everything? The youngest asked. His succession, Woo-sik said. His influence. His estate. We planned the transition for 2 years. I won't let a stranger disrupt that. Succession. Transition. Stranger. The words slithered into her bones like ice. Amara stepped back quietly, heart pounding. She didn't need to hear more. They weren't waiting for the white tiger to die. They were preparing for it. She slipped away before they caught her listening. When she reached Seon-ho's room, she was still shaking. He saw it instantly. What happened? He asked. Nothing, she whispered. Miss Amara, he said softly, fear lives in this house. And you smell like you just walked through it. Her throat tightened. Your family. They don't seem fond of me. They're not fond of anyone who isn't useful, he said. But you are not their real concern. What is? My death, he said. And everything attached to it. He coughed, and she steadied him. For a moment, she saw him not as the white tiger, not as a legend, but as a man who had built a kingdom only to realize he'd raised wolves in the process. Loneliness clung to him thicker than illness. Miss Amara, he murmured, eyes half closed. If you want to survive here, trust your instincts. They're the only honest thing in this house. She nodded even though he couldn't see it. Before leaving his room later that afternoon, she paused in the doorway. If you're still with Amara, bestie, now's the time to like and subscribe, because nothing in this estate is what it looks like. She didn't know it yet, but she had just stepped onto a battlefield disguised as a home. And the next shot fired would be aimed at her. By the end of her second week, Amara moved through the Beck mansion like a ghost everyone saw but no one acknowledged. Staff slipped past her with their eyes fixed on the floor. The daughters cut their gaze through her whenever she crossed their path. And Woo-sik's quiet, unsettling interest followed her like a shadow he was studying how to break. She kept her head down, but she could feel it, that pressure, tightening around her life like an invisible rope. The only person in the entire estate who seemed fully alive when he spoke to her was the one everyone else was just waiting to bury. Baek Seon-ho was quieter now. His breaths shorter. The tremor in his hands more visible. But his eyes remained razor-sharp. His body was failing, but his mind hadn't surrendered a single inch. One afternoon, she stepped into his room and found him at war with his own shirt buttons. His fingers shook too much to catch the fabric. Let me help you, she said softly. He didn't argue. Just let his hands fall, chest rising with the effort of trying. As she fastened the buttons, he asked, Do you know why my daughters avoid my room? I assumed they were busy, she answered carefully. Busy counting what they think they'll inherit, he replied. Busy rehearsing speeches for my funeral in their heads. Amara hesitated. She had no script for this kind of bitterness. He watched her face like a mirror. You're honest, Miss Amara. You don't pretend well. That's rare here. She couldn't tell if that was praise or a warning. When she'd finished, he gestured for her to help him to the armchair by the window. Winter light brushed his face, building every hollow and line into a map of everything he'd survived. You are far from home, he said after a moment. Yes, she replied quietly. And you didn't come for adventure. No. Debt. Her shoulders stiffened. You look like someone carrying a weight that doesn't fit in your bag, he said. Your hands shake when you check your phone. You count your money before you put it away. You cry quietly at night and wipe your face just before you open the door. Her throat closed. She hadn't thought anyone noticed. Especially not him. How did you? When you live with death sitting at your table, he said, you learn to read people very quickly. She sank into the chair opposite him. His words hit too close. What do you owe? he asked. And to whom? Her heart pounded loud in her ears. I borrowed from lenders, she whispered. For my father. He had a stroke. The hospital needed full payment. I didn't have it. And now? They want more, she said. A lot more. He gave a dry, humorless chuckle. Loan sharks. They love people like you. People who are willing to bleed themselves dry for someone they love. His gaze slipped toward the window for a moment, as if he was seeing someone else in her place. You remind me of someone, he murmured. She didn't ask who. She had learned that when he wanted to explain, he would. He looked back at her. Come closer. She moved toward him. Look at me, Miss Amara. She met his eyes. What do you see? He asked. A man who's tired, she said. You see a man who's dying, he corrected gently. But my death causes more problems than my life ever did. She frowned faintly. I don't understand. My clan, he said slowly. My territory. My name. All of it rests on an old rule. A male heir inherits. No son, no continuity. Just chaos. Your daughters, she started. Cannot inherit, he said. Not in the world I built. If I die without a son, everything fractures. Men I kept in line will tear the city apart fighting over what I leave behind. My family loses their safety. People far worse than me rear their heads. His voice dropped. I am running out of time. Amara's pulse quickened. Something heavy and unseen was circling this conversation. He held her gaze with unnerving calm. I need a male heir, he said. And you are the only person I trust to carry him. Her mind went blank. She thought she'd misunderstood. She prayed she had. Sir, what are you saying? I am asking you, he said, to have my child. The room tilted a little. No, she breathed. No. No, I can't. No. He didn't flinch. You're afraid, he said. Good. People who aren't afraid are dangerous or stupid. This isn't something you can just ask someone, she said, voice shaking. I did not choose this, he replied quietly. The clock chose for me. She took a step back, needing space that the room didn't have. I'm not the kind of person. You are the only person under this roof, he said, who looks at me and sees a human being, not a bank account or a throne. My wife has plans that don't involve my legacy. My daughters love the power, not the name that built it. Woo-sik wants control, not continuity. You, he paused. You are driven by need, not greed. Need makes people loyal. The word loyal tasted like iron on her tongue. He leaned back, sweating from effort. I will give you something no one has ever given you, he said. Real safety. I will clear your debts immediately. I will give you 12 million won now and 60 million after the birth. Protection. For you. For your family. No more running. No more fear when your phone vibrates at night. The offer wrapped around her like a cruel miracle. It promised everything she had ever wanted, and demanded everything she didn't know she was ready to lose. She gripped the edge of the table, knuckles whitening. I need time, she managed. You will have some, he said. Not much. I have months. Perhaps less. She left the room before she drowned in the air. That night, she paced her tiny room until her legs shook. She saw her father lying weak on a thin mattress in Harare. Her siblings clinging to their phones when her calls came through. The lender's messages, polite threats framed as reminders. The casual contempt of the Beck daughters. Woo-sik's calculating eyes. And in the middle of all of it, a dying man who, for reasons she couldn't fully grasp, had looked at her and decided to trust her with the last thing he cared about. She pressed both hands over her face and cried quietly into the dark. By dawn, she wasn't sure if she had made a decision or if the decision had made her. She found him in his usual spot by the window, skin pale, eyes a little dimmer. He took one look at her and nodded slightly. You've decided. She swallowed. Yes, she whispered. I'll do it. For the first time since she'd stepped into his room weeks ago, his smile reached his eyes. Then I will protect you, he said simply. With whatever remains of me. 2 days later, they signed a contract in secret. His lawyer bore witness, face professional, eyes unreadable. 12 million won landed in her account before the evening meal. The night they fulfilled the agreement was nothing like the scenes from dramas or the fantasies her younger self once had. There was no romance, no whispered promises. Just awkwardness, restraint, and the cold reality of a transaction colored by urgency and mortality. He was dying. She was terrified. They both understood there was no other way. Afterward, they sat in silence, the air between them thick with everything that had changed and everything that couldn't be undone. 3 weeks later, the nausea started. She pretended it was stress until it wasn't. She bought the pregnancy test from a pharmacy 3 districts away, walking in with a hood over her head like she was committing a crime. Back at the mansion, she locked herself in the small bathroom beside her room and waited on the cold tile floor. The second line appeared almost instantly. Her breath left her body. Her hands shook so hard the test rattled. She was carrying the white tiger's heir. She wasn't ready to tell him. But he didn't need words. The moment she entered his room, he studied her face and exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for weeks. It worked, he whispered, almost laughing. He's coming. Sir, it might not be a boy, she said quietly. It is, he answered. I feel it. Hope flickered across his face, fragile and fierce at the same time. The hope of a man with one last thing left to do before he let go. If you're still with Amara at this point, hit like and subscribe, because the moment his family learns where their father's heir is actually growing, this house is going to explode. 3 days later, Baek Seon-ho summoned his wife, his daughters, and Jang Woo-sik to his room. And the Baek estate would never be the same again. Baek Seon-ho chose a cold, bright morning to burn his entire house down without touching a single flame. Call them, he said. His voice was thin, frayed at the edges, but the steel inside it was unmistakable. Amara stood beside his chair holding a half-empty glass of water. His hands shook more violently today. His skin looked stretched, fragile, papery, fighting to stay attached to the man he still believed himself to be. Are you sure? She whispered. If I wait any longer, he murmured, I may not have the strength to speak for myself. I refuse to leave my legacy to gossip. Kong Dae-hyun stepped into the hallway, murmured into his earpiece, and within minutes the mansion awoke. Footsteps, whispering silk, polished heels striking marble like timed detonations. Baek Seori entered first, every line of her face drawn tight. Behind her came the daughters, Hannah, Rina, Yoon, moving as a single, irritated unit. And trailing them, hands in pockets, expression carved from arrogance, Jang Woo-sik. Amara pressed herself to the far edge of the room, fingers curled around the glass. She felt every eye pass over her like a cold wind. Hannah frowned. Father, what is this? I have meetings. It is the only thing left that matters, he said. For a moment, he almost looked like the man whispered about in Seoul's shadows. Straight-backed, eyes sharp, jaw set in old power. And before you ask, he added, I am not changing doctors. Seori inhaled slowly. Then speak. What is this about? He looked at each of them in turn, and Amara watched their faces harden. Annoyance, impatience, calculation. Not one flicker of concern for the man who'd built the ground they walked on. I have an announcement about the future of this family, he said. And the future of the Baek clan. The air shifted. Woo-sik straightened. Hannah's brow arched. Rina stopped tapping her phone. Yoon even looked up. I have an heir, he said. Silence slammed into the room. No one breathed. For a heartbeat, the world stalled. Then, that's impossible. What? You're delirious. Father, stop. Be quiet, he barked. The old Baek Seon-ho flashed through that one command, slicing through their protests like a blade. The daughters froze. I said I have an heir. A son. Hannah stepped forward, voice brittle. That's not possible. You've been ill for years. The doctors said. The doctors, he said sharply, did not share my bed. The shock rippled through them like electricity. Rena's voice rose. So what? You had some secret child out there? And you waited until now to. She is not from my past, he said. She is in this house. Every head snapped toward Amara. The air vanished from her lungs. Her fingers dug into the glass. For a second she thought she might drop it. Yoon laughed. You're joking. Her. The helper. Woo-sik didn't laugh. His eyes narrowed, sharp and predatory. Seori's mask cracked, the smallest fracture, but unmistakable. Color rose along her neck. Explain, she said. Her voice could have frozen fire. I owe you nothing, he replied. But I will clarify. Miss Amara is carrying my child. A son. My heir. He will inherit everything. Rena's mouth fell open. You got the maid pregnant and now you want us to call that child your successor? Are you insane? Heat crawled up Amara's throat. He is not the maid's child, Seon-ho said. He is mine. My blood. My successor. Seori stepped closer, fury tightening every muscle. You disgrace this family. You drag a foreigner in here, dress her like staff, then elevate her stomach above your daughters? This is humiliation. Humiliation, he repeated, is raising a family who thinks loyalty is optional. Hannah trembled with rage. We are your children. Children, he said softly. Children do not wait for their father to die so they can choose new curtains. She flinched like she'd been slapped. You cannot do this, she hissed. You cannot just declare that a stranger's child will lead your organization. I am not asking, he said. I am announcing. The documents are signed. The trust is secured. The will is updated. Woo-sik's voice cut through the air like a scalpel. You think the clan will accept a child born from a woman with no blood ties? A foreigner. They will accept strength, Seon-ho said. And they will accept my decision. Whether they like it or not. He leaned forward. The effort looked agonizing. And hear this clearly, if anything happens to her, anything at all. His eyes locked onto Amara. If she falls, if she is frightened, if she disappears, if this child is harmed before or after birth, every one of you loses everything. Every single thing. Silence fell again. Cold. Heavy. Deadly. Do you understand? He asked. Jaw tight, Hannah managed. Yes. Good. Then adjust yourselves. You are no longer my successors. He is. Rena's voice cracked. And what does that make us? Extras in your new love story. That depends on whether you behave like family, he said, or like enemies. Seori stepped forward. Her voice was a whisper of pure venom. You ruined everything. Decades of planning. Alliances. Arrangements. For her. She flicked her gaze to Amara like tossing a weapon. For a girl who sold herself for money. Something inside Amara snapped. I didn't sell myself, she said. Her voice shook, but it didn't break. I made a choice. For my family. Just like you made choices for yours. The room froze. Seori stepped toward her, eyes burning, but... Enough, Seon-ho said sharply. She owes you nothing. I owe you nothing. He turned to Amara. And his expression changed. You are brave, he said softly. Braver than the ones who pretend they aren't afraid. Her breath hitched. Everyone out, he said. Hannah hesitated. Father. Out. There was no room for debate. Seori stormed out first, heels snapping against the floor. Rena shoved her phone into her pocket, eyes shining with rage. Yoon followed, muttering curses. Woo-sik paused at the door. Slowly, deliberately, he looked back at Amara. No more confusion. No more curiosity. Just cold, calculated hatred. Then he stepped out and shut the door. The silence he left behind felt like a threat. Amara gripped the back of the chair. I'm sorry, she whispered. I shouldn't have spoken. I'm glad you did, he said. You reminded them you are not their furniture. He sagged deeper into the chair, exhaustion dragging at him. This house will become dangerous now, he said. It wasn't exactly safe before, she tried to joke, voice shaking. A faint smile touched his lips before fading. Stay near Kong. Don't walk alone. Don't eat anything you didn't see prepared. And don't trust anyone who smiles. A cold stone settled in her stomach. You think they'll try to hurt me? She asked. He didn't hesitate. I think they're desperate, he said. And desperate people will destroy anything that stands in front of what they want. His hand trembled as he reached for her. She stepped closer. I will protect you, he whispered. As long as I breathe. But they both knew his breath was fading. From that moment on, the house transformed. Conversations halted when she entered a room. Doors were shut in her face. Staff whispered. The daughters watched her like she was a fire they intended to smother. Once, Hannah blocked her in the hallway, silent but simmering. Rena, accidentally, drenched her clothes with a glass of water. Yoon caused a tantrum and blamed Amara for things she hadn't touched. Woo-sik said nothing. Which was worse. Kong began appearing everywhere, never obviously, never hovering, just always nearby, always watching the corners she couldn't see. You don't have to follow me, she told him once. That's true, he said. I don't have to. He didn't elaborate. Her routine with Seon-ho continued, but now she double-checked every tray, tasted everything before he did, memorized every pill by shape and shade. She began eating in his room because he insisted. You won't go hungry in my presence, he said. If they won't treat you like a guest in this house, then you are family in here. Her eyes stung. One night, exhausted and dizzy, she slipped into the kitchen to make tea. Her mug, her familiar chipped mug, was missing. A nearly identical one sat in its place. Same color. Same shape. Different handle. Different weight. Her heart started pounding. The sugar bowl was slightly out of place, left instead of center. She unscrewed the lid. The crystals inside sparkled under the light, but they were too fine, too uniform, too chemical. Her hand trembled as she lifted the bowl toward the trash. She dumped it out. A faint chemical smell rose up, sharp and unmistakable. Her knees nearly buckled. Someone had tried to kill her. Not with a knife. Not with a scream. Not with a dramatic confrontation. With sugar. If your heart just dropped with Amara's, like, subscribe, grab your seat, because whoever tried this has only made their first move. And Amara? She hasn't even stepped into the war zone yet. The game had just changed. And now she knew the truth. Someone in this house wasn't waiting for the white tiger to die. They were waiting for her. The sugar incident changed Amara. Fear wasn't just a feeling anymore. It was a lens. Every sound meant something. Every glance carried weight. Every object felt like it might be hiding a second intention. The mansion didn't feel grand now. It felt aware. Baek Seon-ho noticed the change the second she walked in the next morning. You didn't sleep, he said. She tried to shrug it off. I'm fine. You are a terrible liar, he replied. His eyes narrowed. What happened? For a moment she wanted to say nothing. The doctors had already warned them. Stress shortened his time. Stress killed faster than the illness some days. But hiding it felt worse. My tea was tampered with, she whispered. The sugar. It smelled wrong. When I threw it away, there was this chemical smell. He went still. Not frail. Not tired. Just still. You did not drink it, he asked. She shook her head. No. His jaw tightened. The tremor in his hand changed. No longer from sickness, but anger. They grow bold, he said softly. That means they grow afraid. Her voice came out small. Afraid of what? Of the child, he said. And of how close I am to the end. He forced himself a little straighter in his chair, fighting for command. From now on, you eat only here, he said. You drink only sealed things. Kong will check every tray that enters this room. You do not walk around this house alone. Ever. She swallowed. I don't want to cause trouble. You're not causing trouble, he cut in. You're carrying my last defense against the chaos waiting for me to die. That is not a burden. That is responsibility. The word pressed down on her more heavily than the baby growing inside her. Later that day, she found Kong waiting by the door like he'd always been there. Walk with me, he said. They stepped into the back garden. Winter air stung her cheeks. Bare branches scratched at the sky like thin, angry fingers. You know they'll try again, Kong said. Her chest tightened. You're sure? Yes. He didn't even hesitate. People who fail once don't abandon their plans. They adjust them. Who is it? She asked. He didn't answer that. Instead, do you trust me? She hesitated a fraction of a second, then nodded. I do. Good, he said. Because keeping you alive will be easier if you keep doing that. They walked in silence for a few steps, the crunch of gravel under their shoes the only sound. There's something else, he said. A rumor has started outside the house. Her stomach dropped. About me. About the heir, he said. About the possibility that the white tiger may not leave a vacuum behind him. How? She breathed. No one outside should know. In this world, secrets don't leak, Kong said quietly. They're pushed. Pushed by who? Someone who wanted that information to reach the wrong people. Her fingers instinctively pressed against her stomach. Which people? She asked. Rivals, he said. Old enemies. Men who swore they'd dance on the white tiger's grave. If they find out his heir is unborn and unprotected. He didn't finish. He didn't need to. So it's not just his family, she whispered. It's everyone who ever wanted him gone. Yes, Kong said. Now they want you gone too. The weight of it settled over her like heavy snow. Inside the house was subtle poison. Outside the house was open hunt. Why are you helping me? She asked quietly. Kang's jaw clenched. He stared straight ahead. Because he asked me to, he said. And because loyalty means something to me. It still means something to some of us. She saw grief flicker across his features before he buried it. Thank you, she said. He nodded once. Before she could say anything else, a voice slid across the garden. Well, Woo-sik said, hands tucked in his coat pockets as he approached. This looks cozy. Amara stiffened instantly. Kong shifted, placing himself half a step in front of her. It wasn't obvious. It was deliberate. Relax, Woo-sik said lightly. If I wanted her dead, she wouldn't be strolling outside getting fresh air. What do you want? Kong asked. Woo-sik's eyes moved to Amara, amused and cold. To offer advice, he said. This house isn't kind to fragile things. We're finished here, Kong said. Woo-sik ignored him. He took one more step closer, voice dropping just enough for it to feel intimate and dangerous. Be careful, he told Amara smoothly. Accidents happen. Then he turned and walked away, coat swaying, as if he hadn't just delivered a threat disguised as a kindness. Amara's knees felt unsteady. He won't come at you directly, Kong said quietly. That's not his style. He prefers to dirty other people's hands. That doesn't make me feel better, she muttered. It's not meant to, he replied. That evening, as she prepared Seon-ho's tray, voices drifted in from the corridor, sharper than usual. Amara froze. She can't stay here, mother. Hannah's voice sliced through the air. She's destroying everything. She won't be here much longer, Seoul answered, calm and cold. We just have to be patient. Patient? Rina snapped. She's already pregnant. Do you understand what that means once father is gone? It means, Seoul said, we solve the problem before it grows. Solve the problem. The words crawled across Amara's skin like ice. What about father's threats? Hannah demanded. If anything happens to her, he won't be able to enforce anything, Seoul said. He's dying. Dying men's promises are decorations, nothing more. And the clan? Rina pushed. If they find out. They won't, Seoul snapped. Unless one of you is foolish enough to talk outside this house. Silence hummed. What if the baby is already a threat? Yoon asked quietly. There was a pause. Then we remove the threat, Seoul said. The tray in Amara's hands rattled. She backed away from the doorway slowly, heart hammering, and slipped into Seon-ho's room like someone escaping a burning room. He didn't even need to ask. One look at her face and his expression hardened. What did you hear? He asked. They're planning something, she choked out. Your wife. Your daughters. They called the baby a threat. They want it gone. His eyes went cold in a way she had never seen before. I knew they were desperate, he said quietly. I underestimated how far they'd go. What do we do? She whispered. He closed his eyes, breathing shallowly, the weight of the decision pressing into his bones. When he opened them again, his gaze was steady. You can't stay here, he said. Not anymore. The words hit her like a slap. Leave, she repeated. Yes. His tone had no room for argument. Every additional day increases the danger. You need to disappear before they find a way past my threats. Her throat tightened. But this house is the only thing keeping them from touching me. This house is the reason they're trying harder, he said. I will arrange everything. Documents, money, a safe place where none of them can touch you. You and the baby will be protected. She swallowed, fighting the urge to cry. What about you? She whispered. He looked at her for a long, heavy moment. My road is already chosen, he said. Yours is not. The ache in her chest sharpened. When? She asked. Soon, he said. Very soon. Don't be foolish and stay when I tell you to go. When the time comes, you run. You don't look back. She nodded, even as tears stung her eyes. He squeezed her hand, his grip weak but determined. Seon-ho was dying, and for the first time since Amara had met him, the truth showed clearly on his face. His cough was deeper. His breath shorter. His skin had thinned to paper. Some mornings she found him staring out the window as if memorizing the world he would soon leave behind. But his mind. Still razor sharp. Still dangerous. That was how she knew something was wrong the night he said, barely above a whisper. We move tomorrow. Her heart clenched. Tomorrow. It can't wait. His voice trembled, but his will did not. They've tried twice. The next attempt won't leave room for mistakes. Her hand instinctively covered her belly. 3 months, a soft curve that felt both miraculous and fragile. Where will I go? She whispered. Away, he said. Far from their reach. My lawyer will meet you there. Everything is prepared. His body sagged with exhaustion, and she supported him gently. I'm sorry, she murmured. I wish you could come with me. A faint smile ghosted across his lips. I won't see the end of this chapter, Miss Amara. But I can still write your beginning. The door opened quietly. Kong stepped inside. He always looked controlled, but tonight something flickered in his expression. Focused, alert, charged. It's time, he said. Amara squeezed Seon-ho's trembling hand one last time. Thank you, she whispered. For everything. Go, he breathed. And don't look back. His fingers slipped from hers. And she left before she shattered. The back corridors of the mansion were dark, hushed, eerie. Kong moved with silent precision, guiding her through service passages and staff exits like a man who had memorized every shadow. Only essentials, Kong said, handing her a small bag. Everything else will be waiting at the safe house. Her palms were sweating. Kong, how dangerous is this? He met her gaze directly. His voice didn't waver. Dangerous enough that you must obey every instruction I give. Without hesitation. That was when she understood. This wasn't fear anymore. This was war. They reached the back gate near the garage. Kong stopped, scanning with the stillness of a predator. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. Stay behind me. A black sedan waited. Engine running. Lights low. Ready. He opened the rear door. Get in. Whatever happens, keep your head down. Her pulse hammered as she slid into the back seat. Kong started the car and pulled through the gate with deceptive calm, the kind of calm trained men use when expecting an attack. For the first 20 minutes, the world felt normal. Neon signs blurred past. Students laughed on sidewalks. Delivery drivers rushed down the street. Couples shared late-night snacks. Meanwhile, her life was unraveling in the back seat of a fleeing car. Kong checked the mirrors. Once. Twice. Too often. You're scaring me, she whispered. No answer. Then. She saw them. 2 sets of headlights. Closing in fast. A cold wave gripped her stomach. Kong. I see them. Her breath hitched. What do? We keep going. But the cars behind them sped up. Smooth, controlled, intentional. Not coincidence. Not traffic. Hunters. Is it his family? She whispered. Kang's jaw tightened. Family doesn't approach like this, he said. They're worse. The first SUV pulled alongside them, inching closer, metal grazing metal. The second SUV slid behind them, sealing off escape. Kong. Down, he barked. Get down now. Amara ducked just before the window beside her exploded inward. Glass rained across the seat. She covered her stomach with both arms, shaking. The sedan jerked violently as Kong swerved. They sped toward the outskirts. Fewer lights, fewer people, fewer witnesses. We can't outrun them, she cried. We don't outrun them, he said. We outlast them. The SUV rammed them from the side. The whole car jolted. Her teeth clacked. Pain shot through her neck. Another hit from behind. Her breath tore out in panic. She squeezed her arms around her belly. Kong, please. Listen to me, he said, voice calm in a way that made her want to scream. You're not dying today. The road curved sharply. Beyond it, a faint glow. Runway lights. A private airstrip. Hope surged. Sharp. Desperate. Kong, they're getting closer. I know. He pressed the accelerator. The engine growled. The sedan surged forward. An SUV lunged into their path. Kong didn't hesitate. He rammed the sedan into the SUV's side, precise, surgical, just enough to send it spinning without killing them both. The SUV careened into the guardrail. Kong. Amara cried. They're still coming. Then we keep going. He veered off the main road, tearing across the open field toward the jet. The terrain was uneven, the sedan bouncing violently. Grass slapped the windows. Mud sprayed. The remaining SUV tried to follow, but its heavy frame dragged, wheels sinking, losing speed. The jet drew closer. Lights bright. Stairs down. Engines humming. Hold on, Kong said. He cut the wheel and skidded to a violent stop beside the stairway. Run. Amara burst out of the car, her legs trembling but moving anyway. Pain shot through her shin, but she ignored it. She sprinted across the tarmac toward the stairs. Behind her. Metal clashed. A grunt. A body hit the ground. "Kong!" she screamed. He fought off two men with brutal sharp movements, one knee down, one hand gripping his side, refusing to fall. "Geo!" he roared. "For the baby, go!" Her heart cracked. A hand reached down from the plane. "This way. Hurry." She grabbed it and climbed the stairs, tears blurring the world. She reached the door, turned, and saw Kong look up at her one last time. Not afraid. Not broken. Just loyal. The door slammed shut. Locks engaged. The engines roared. The jet rolled. Accelerated. Lifted. Amara pressed her hand to the window, sobbing as the men grew smaller, the SUVs vanished, and the airstrip faded. A woman in uniform knelt beside her. "You're safe now," she whispered. "You made it. Safe." It didn't feel real. Her phone buzzed. One message from Beck Seon-ho. "If you are reading this, you escaped. I knew you would. Live. Protect our son. And do not mourn me long." Her vision blurred. One more message. "Goodbye, Miss Amara." She pressed her forehead to the screen. "Goodbye," she choked. "Thank you for saving us." She leaned back in her seat, exhaustion sinking deep. Below her, Seoul disappeared into darkness. Ahead of her, London waited. A new city. A new life. A new danger. And for the first time, she realized. She wasn't running anymore. She was surviving. And the world would soon learn the white tiger left behind more than a dying empire. He left an heir. And a mother ready to fight for him. Clouds pressed against the windows in heavy grey layers as the jet descended. London looked nothing like Seoul from above. No neon. No jagged mountains of glass. Just endless rows of buildings, soft and muted, like someone had taken the color saturation and quietly turned it down. Amara sat with her hands folded over her stomach. Her fingers wouldn't stop trembling. She'd spent most of the flight in a strange silence. No tears left. No energy left. Just a hollow space where fear and adrenaline had burned themselves out. The woman who'd helped her on board, slim, mid-30s, composed, sat across the aisle, watching her without staring. "My name is Ji-eun," she'd said earlier. "I worked for Mr. Beck for many years. He trusted you. That means I do too." It was the simplest, kindest thing anyone had said to Amara in months. Now, as the seatbelt lights blinked and the engine's pitch dropped, Ji-eun leaned slightly toward her. "We'll be landing in a private terminal," she said. "Mr. Beck's attorney is waiting for you. She'll explain everything. Everything." That word had stopped meaning anything comforting a long time ago. "What about Kong?" Amara asked quietly. Ji-eun's expression gentled. "We lost contact after Wheels Up," she said carefully. "Security's trying to confirm what happened." "Which means you think he's dead," Amara said, voice barely audible. Ji-eun didn't lie. "He knew what he was walking into," she said. "He made his choice the moment he stepped between you and those cars." The words didn't make it hurt less, but they did give the pain a shape. "He died so you could live." The plane landed with a soft jolt. As they taxied, Amara looked out at a world that felt like a dream she hadn't ordered. When they came to a stop, the door opened with a hiss. Cold, damp air rushed in, smelling like rain on concrete. "Come," Ji-eun said. "You're almost at the safe part." The word, almost, echoed. On the tarmac, a woman waited beside a black car. She wore a sharp coat and carried a leather folder tucked neatly under one arm. Her hair was tied back, her expression unreadable but not unfriendly. "Ms. Dubé?" she asked. "Yes," Amara replied, surprised her voice still worked. The woman bowed her head slightly in greeting. "I'm attorney Kim Soo-jin. I handled many of Mr. Beck's overseas matters. I'm here to make sure his arrangements for you are carried out." His arrangements. He'd planned this. All of it. Every detail. They slid into the back of the car. The interior smelled faintly of leather and coffee. Rain streaked the windows as they pulled away from the terminal. When did he? Amara began, then stopped. She couldn't finish. Attorney Kim didn't need her to. Baek Seon-ho passed away early this morning, Seoul time, she said gently. Peacefully, according to his doctor. You were already in the air when it happened. The words landed like a final period on a story that had been running out of pages. Amara turned her face toward the window, watching buildings flash by. His last messages to you were sent minutes before, Attorney Kim added quietly. He was alert enough to make sure you knew his thoughts. I read them, Amara whispered. He told me not to mourn him too long. A faint smile ghosted across the lawyer's face. That sounds like him. They drove in silence for a while. The city blurred past, double-decker buses, black cabs, people in heavy coats clutching umbrellas. Finally, Attorney Kim spoke again. There are a few things you need to know, she said. First, this car is secure. You're being followed by a secondary vehicle with protection staff assigned to you. From this point, you are not unprotected. Amara blinked. Protection. Mr. Baek, she corrected herself. Your son's father anticipated that some individuals might attempt to follow the money. Or the heir. Amara's hand drifted back to her belly. He arranged for a private security firm to monitor your location at all times, Attorney Kim continued. Discreetly. You will not see them. But they're there. It was unsettling and reassuring at the same time, like living under a constant shadow that was on your side. Second, she said, your housing has been taken care of. You will be living in a fully paid apartment in Kensington for the next 5 years. Longer if needed. Kensington, Amara repeated. The word meant nothing to her yet. Just sounds. You'll get used to it, the lawyer said. Third, his estate. She opened her folder and handed Amara a single page. Not the will. A summary. 80% of his assets, she said, have been placed into a trust accessible only by your son upon reaching legal age. Amara's eyes widened. 80. Correct. The remaining 20 is divided between his wife and daughters under very specific conditions. What conditions? Amara asked quietly. They cannot challenge the will, Attorney Kim said. They cannot pursue legal claims against you or your son. They cannot attempt to interfere with the trust via external channels. Any violation of those terms results in their portion reverting back to the trust. Amara blinked. Can that really stop them? It will slow them, Attorney Kim said, and complicate their attempts. And he didn't rely on legal roadblocks alone. What else did he do? He called in old favors, she replied. Reached out to certain people to make sure word spread that harming you or the child would carry consequences, even after his death. The idea that a man could cast shadows long enough to protect her from beyond the grave was almost too much to comprehend. But you should still be cautious, she added. Legal walls and fear only hold people back for so long. The car turned onto a quieter street now. Tall townhouses lined the road, their facades elegant and understated. Not flashy wealth. Quiet, old, certain wealth. They stopped outside a 4-story building with white columns and black railings. This is home, Attorney Kim said. The word home made Amara's eyes sting. Inside, the lobby was small but polished. They rode a narrow lift to the 3rd floor, the kind that hummed softly and took its time. The apartment door opened with a gentle click. Amara stepped in and froze. This place was not an escape room. It was a life someone had built for her. Light wood floors. High ceilings. A living room with a large window overlooking the street. A couch that looked both comfortable and expensive. Shelves that were not yet filled but waiting. There was a small dining area, a compact but fully stocked kitchen, framed prints on the walls, not generic hotel art, but cityscapes and abstract pieces someone had chosen. She walked slowly, her fingers trailing over the back of a chair. This is for me, she asked. For you and the baby, Attorney Kim confirmed. The rent is paid. Utilities covered. You will receive a monthly allowance from a separate account to cover living expenses, starting today. Starting today? Amara repeated. Yes. There's already money in your local account. And more that will follow. She pressed a hand to her forehead. It was too much after all the months of scraping by and counting every coin. How did he do all this so fast? She whispered. Attorney Kim's expression softened. He started planning the moment he knew you were pregnant, she said. You weren't a backup plan. You were the last thing he chose carefully. The words hit something deep in her chest. He hadn't just used her as a vessel. He'd tried, within his limited violent world, to give her a way out. There's more, the lawyer said. Come. She guided Amara down the hallway. The bedroom was warm, with a large bed dressed in soft linens. Another window. A dresser. A closet with hangers already waiting. Beside it, another door. The nursery, Attorney Kim said quietly. Amara opened it and almost stopped breathing. It was simple. Not extravagant. But it was ready. A white crib. A small changing table. Shelves with neatly folded baby clothes. Blankets in soft neutral tones. A rocking chair in the corner. Whoever had prepared it hadn't gone for designer logos or dramatic themes. Just calm. Just love. Her hand flew to her mouth. Tears blurred her vision. He did this, she managed. He approved every purchase, Attorney Kim said. He chose the layout. He wanted his son to have a room that felt peaceful. That word again. Peace. The thing a man who'd lived in violence all his life wanted most for a child who'd never met him. Amara stepped into the nursery fully, fingers brushing the edge of the crib. She imagined tiny hands clutching at the air, tiny breaths filling this space. She bit her lip hard to stop herself from sobbing. Take your time, the lawyer said softly, waiting in the doorway. After a while, when she could breathe again, Amara stepped back into the hallway. There are two more things, Attorney Kim said. First, this. She handed Amara a small black device, like a sleek car remote with two buttons. This is a panic signal connected to your security team. One press summons protection to your location. Two presses mean immediate extraction. You'll be relocated within minutes to a safer place if any credible threat appears. Amara stared at it. It looked so small for something with that much power. Keep it on you at all times, Attorney Kim said. Even when you sleep. What's the second thing? Amara asked. The lawyer held up a sealed envelope. Thick. Weighted. A red wax seal pressed into the flap. He wrote this for you, she said. He asked me to give it to you after the baby was born, but, given what you've been through, I think you deserve to read it now. Amara's fingers closed around the envelope. I'll leave you alone, Attorney Kim said gently. I'll be back tomorrow to help sort the remaining details. There is food in the fridge. Fresh clothes in the wardrobe. Rest. She paused, then added quietly. He cared about you more than he admitted out loud. You should know that. Then she left, the door clicking softly shut behind her. For the first time in months, Amara was truly alone. No cameras. No footsteps in the hall. No whispered threats. Just her heartbeat and the faint hum of the city outside. She sat on the couch, the envelope heavy in her hands. Her stomach fluttered, whether from nerves or the baby moving, she didn't know anymore. Finally, she broke the seal. A photograph slid out first. A younger Baek Seon-ho stared back at her from the glossy paper. No lines around his eyes. No sickness in his face. He looked confident. Dangerous. Alive in a way she'd never seen. On the back, a line of handwriting. For my son. So he knows I was young once too. Her throat tightened. She unfolded the letter. His handwriting was neat, deliberate. Miss Amara. It began. If you are reading this, it means I am gone, and you survived what I did not. She exhaled shakily. He wrote about his childhood. About growing up with a father who used fear as a language. About inheriting a world built on violence and feeling like there was no way to step outside it without being crushed. He wrote about building the clan, making choices that chained him to horrors he couldn't undo, convincing himself it was for family, even as his own family hardened into strangers at his table. And then he wrote about her. You walked into my house and looked at me like I was human when even my own blood treated me like a failing machine. You made mistakes. You were terrified. But you did not run. You stayed. You tried. And you did not pretend. You gave me more honesty in 3 months than most people gave me in 30 years. Her tears fell onto the page, blurring some of the ink. If I had met you when I was young, perhaps I would have chosen a different road, he wrote. But I cannot change my story. I can only change what comes after me. He told her she was free to raise their son any way she chose. Raise him far from my world if you wish. Let him live quietly, study, laugh, fall in love without blood on his hands. If he never once uses my name, I will rest gladly. If he chooses one day to know where he came from, to know the empire I built and the enemies I made, tell him everything. Do not paint me as a hero. I was not. Do not paint me only as a monster either. I was a man who was afraid of being erased. Tell him I loved him before he was born. Tell him you were the best thing that happened to me at the end. At the bottom, one final line. You changed the way I died. I hope I have changed the way you live. Below that, a small postscript. There is a safety deposit box at a bank in this city. The key is taped to the back of the photograph. Inside are items meant for you and for our son, when he is old enough. Use them when your instinct says the time is right. She turned the photograph. Sure enough, a small key was taped there. She held it in her palm, feeling its cool weight. She wasn't ready to know what waited in that box. Not yet. For now, it was enough to know that even in death, he'd left her threads to follow when she chose. Her phone buzzed. A message from her sister in Harare. How are you? Are you okay? The boys miss you. Dad says he dreamed of you standing on a balcony in a foreign city with a baby. Amara laughed through her tears. A small, broken sound, but real. I'm safe, she typed back. Tell Dad his dream wasn't completely wrong. She sent a photo out the window. English rooftops, wet streets, a sliver of sky. No threats. No shadows. For the first time, the future didn't look like a cliff. It looked like a road. That night, she slept without listening for footsteps in the hallway. And somewhere beneath her ribs, her son turned, as if settling into the idea of the world he'd be born into. London moved at a gentler pace than Seoul. Quieter, colder, almost soft against a life that had survived too much noise. Amara slowly adjusted to the rhythm. The hum of cars outside her Kensington apartment, the kettle whistling every morning, the steady, safe silence of a city that didn't know her past. Attorney Hon visited often, always calm, always reassuring. You're safe here, she'd remind her. Everything is protections and clean paperwork. No one can reach you. On most days, Amara believed her. The baby kicked more now, a quiet reminder that her life was no longer hers alone. Some nights she lay awake, whispering to him. You're going to have the peace your father never had, she'd murmur, hand over her stomach. A life without fear. As her due date approached, she finished the nursery. Small clothes folded neatly, toys arranged with care, a crib waiting beside her bed. For the first time in years, she'd dared to hope. 2 nights before her due date, a storm rolled across London. A deep, sharp pain woke her. Then another. Then a wave that made her grip the sheets. It was time. She pressed the emergency device Attorney Hon had given her. Within minutes, a doctor, a nurse, and private security were guiding her out the door. You're all right, someone whispered. We've got you. Labor blurred into hours, overwhelming but steady. She focused on one thought. He must arrive safely. And then, a soft new cry filled the room. Small, delicate, full of life. A nurse placed the baby into her arms. A boy. Warm. Tiny. Real. Her voice broke. "Hello, you're finally here." He wrapped his fingers around her thumb, and every hardship she'd endured felt like it had led her to this single moment. The nurse asked gently. "His name?" "Jean Ha," she whispered. "Beck Jean Ha." Attorney Han arrived later, eyes warm with relief. "He's perfect," she said. "And officially protected. Your new identity, his trust, everything is complete." For the first time in months, Amara felt the tightness inside her chest loosen. "He'll have choices," she said softly. "No legacy forced onto him." "That's exactly what his father hoped for," Han replied with a small nod. When Han left, the room fell into quiet. No shadows. No threats. No echoes from Seoul. Just a mother and her newborn son. The next morning, sunlight spilled across the hospital bed as Jean Ha slept against her chest. She traced a fingertip along his tiny hand. "You're my whole world now," she whispered. "Everything I do will be for you." There were no warnings. No interruptions. Just peace. The real kind, the kind she had fought for. Amara kissed her son's forehead and held him close, allowing herself to breathe without fear for the first time in years. Seoul was a lifetime away now, tucked into the past. London was their new beginning. Whatever Jean Ha chose when he grew up, whatever path he took, it would be his choice, not destiny's. And as she held him, wrapped in the quiet warmth of the moment, she knew. They were safe. They were free. And they were finally home. Family, what do you think? Should Jean Ha grow up and one day return to Seoul to learn where he came from? Or should he leave that world behind forever? And tell me, where are you watching from? I love seeing how far these stories travel. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and join our story community for more Afro-Korean tales.